All right, so tonight we're not making pasta. I know it must look like we always make pasta, and while we do make a fair amount of it, we actually eat a ton of other stuff. And what we've been craving is a good steak. And so while 9 times out of 10, we're gonna choose a ribeye out of all the different cuts of steak, there's actually a really good recipe that we have for filet mignons. And so it's a filet that has a goat cheese, goat cheese on the top, and then balsamic drizzled across it. We're gonna show you how to do a reverse sear in your convection oven, and then we're gonna finish it off on the stovetop. And then we're just gonna do some green beans on the side with some beurre fondue. So join us. So the first step is we're gonna make our balsamic reduction. And so it's 1.5 cups of balsamic vinegar and 3 tablespoons of sugar. Don't use any like fancy balsamic vinegars for this. You use so much, it'd just be a waste of money. Plus you're adding the sugar to try to reduce it down and thicken it, and just the expensive ones are already thick, so don't do that. So we're gonna add our 3 tablespoons of sugar, and then we're gonna reduce this down till it's 1/3. And the one thing I would highly advise as you get this going is to turn on your exhaust fan, because boiling vinegar, like, it's very pungent. It smells great, but it's very pungent. Are you feeling? Oh my God, this is pungent. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and take this off the heat. You can see, one, we gotta make sure it reduced enough, but also when you start to see it bubble like this and it holds onto all the bubbles, that's because it's starting to get thick enough and all the sugars have started thickening, and we don't want this to burn. So we're just gonna set this aside and let it cool, and then it's actually gonna continue to thicken more. Next up is the steaks. And so, like I said, we're gonna do a reverse sear on them, which basically what that means is we're gonna put them in an oven and we're gonna cook them almost up to temperature, and then we're gonna pull them out of the oven, and then we're gonna finish them by searing them on the stove. I feel like the temperature's a lot easier to control. You can just make sure that you get it up to what you want before you like grill it too much. So we're gonna be using our handy dandy meter thermometer, which this thing is amazing. This is our second one. I accidentally fried the first one in the convection oven because I accidentally set it to microwave. Not microwave safe. But anyway, these things are great. So it connects via Bluetooth. We'll show you what it looks like in the app. But basically we just want to make sure we insert this in the center of the steak because we want to be able to get that reading right in the thickest part of it. We picked these up. We just chose some that are about the same thickness, just so hopefully they'll get done around the same time.
All right, so we open the meter app. Tell it what we want to cook. We're cooking some beef. Filets. Just gonna give a recommendation.
Yeah, but I want to pull them off early. So let's pull them out at like 110. They're fillets, so I just want to make sure they stay pretty rare inside.
Pull them at 110. Start our cook. Start our cook. Okay.
All right.
So what it does is the probe that's in the steak communicates to this guy, and then this guy is what connects to the phone. As long as this is near this, it's got a pretty good range to connect to the actual phone.
Yeah, and we found it works fine with the convection oven.
Yep, works fine in the convection oven, works fine in the grill outside. And it'll show you the internal temperature of your meat, your target temp, and then ambient, so you can monitor like the heat of your grill or the heat of the oven as you're going. And it'll give you some warnings and estimated cooking times and let you know when to pull it off so it has time to rest properly.
And the reason why we got this one was so when you use the convection oven, the turntable has to spin. And we had one of the ones that was connected with a wire, but it can't spin with a wire. So that's why we ended up getting this one. So it's been really handy. I'm gonna use the wire rack that comes with the convection oven. I'm gonna cook them right on the rack, and then I'm just gonna put this pan underneath it. That way It will catch any drippings, probably not much because these are super lean fillets. And then I'm gonna pop these in the oven. We're gonna do them, I don't know, maybe like 200 degrees, maybe 250. The idea is you wanna do a low temperature. But the key is that this isn't about the amount of time, it's about getting them up to the temperature for the doneness that we want. 250. For the green beans, we're just gonna par cook them. So we're gonna boil them in water for like, I don't know, maybe like 10 minutes. We don't want them fully cooked because then we're gonna saute them in that butter mixture. And so I'm just gonna boil them for like 10 minutes and then we're gonna put them into some cool water. I might have ice. Ideally, you can put them in some cold water and it'll completely stop the cooking process. It also keeps them nice and green, but I'm gonna have to check on the ice. All right, so I know I said like 10 minutes on the green beans, but check them for doneness because I just didn't, it was like 5 minutes and they're where I want them to be. I managed to find 5 whole pieces of ice. So I've got the water bath ready for them. I'm sure it made some sort of a difference. That is one of the things I miss about us not being up north is like, your water comes out of the spigot cold. Down here in Florida, it's just, ugh. Yeah, that'll be good. All right, let these cool down and then I'm just gonna drain them one more time and we're gonna set them aside while we finish the steaks. Down. All right, so we hit 110. So we're gonna go ahead and pull these out of the oven. I'm gonna go ahead and shut the door because I want to keep this warm for when we need to melt the goat cheese. But so far, I think it's good. You know, we got a good cook on it so far. Now we got to add the sear.
So now we just got the thermometer set up for the sear, just to keep an eye on our temp. In reality, we could have just set the temperature to 128, which was our target, and then just watched it and pulled them out when they hit 110. We've done it both ways, and
the alarm is nice.
Both work fine.
So for the sear, we're gonna do this inside on the stovetop. You could also do it on the grill if you want. This duck fat is amazing. So it can get up to a really high temp, but we found for like steaks, pork chops, whatever, it gives a great sear. So I'm gonna hit the pan with this. We're gonna crank it all the way up, leaving the thermometer in because we're gonna use that to figure out, I think I'm gonna take it to like 128 because once we pull them off, they're still gonna keep going up and we've gotta warm the goat cheese over it and I wanna make sure these stay on really nice medium rare. So we'll get this going. Okay, so next step is to put a dollop of goat cheese on top, and then we are going to pop these back in the convection oven. I don't even have it on. I just have it, it's still warm from using it.
because the idea is just that it's gonna help soften this goat cheese even more. It's already, I left it out at room temperature to soften up, but we just want it to be really soft. Now, the one thing I will say is don't be fooled. It will still hold its shape fairly well, so you will think that it has not melted, but the inside is like super hot. Back up. All right. Good. You don't want to go crazy with this because the balsamic is strong. You can always add more, serve some on the side if you want, but a little goes a long way. Some green beans. All right, and there it is. Filet with goat cheese and balsamic glaze.
It's good.